So we recently stopped in Easton, Pennsylvania to explore the Crayola experience and to describe that experience in one word and to make this video very short, cringe. This isn't the first time that we've felt this feeling after leaving an experience like this. We also felt it after leaving the world of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. That was just actually even worse than this one.
The Coca-Cola factory. I should call it the indoctrination factory.
And even a little bit at Hershey's Chocolate World. These experiences or factories or whatever you want to call them are titled corporate museums. There are so many kinds of museums, like art museums, science museums, history museums, children's museums, and so on. For the corporate museum though, instead of like artifacts or art pieces or photography, everything in the museum is about a specific brand. A corporate museum is a marketing strategy that began in Italy in the late 1950s, and to this day is a great marketing tool, especially for the luxury sector. And I may be showing my ignorance of luxury branding right now, but I had no idea that there were a Porsche museum and a Louis Vuitton foundation, which basically these are corporate museums, and apparently they're very popular, and I didn't know about them until researching corporate museums for this video. The entire point of a corporate museum is to build an authentic relationship with your customers, and if the brand is successful, you're gonna want your customers to leave and feel like,
man, that founder was such a visionary, and I love how he used his genius to help the community.
I know, what a legacy. To this day, they provide so many jobs and security for families. I love it.
Yeah, and their products are made so well. It's crazy to think about how much detail goes into each ingredient. Such high quality.
The marketing strategy here is pretty simple. If you can successfully make thousands of people believe that your business is historically important enough to have a museum, culturally impactful, and authentic, then hopefully those customers are going to want you to stay in business, and hopefully they'll buy your product for years to come. The United States has a ton of these corporate museums, and some of them are really cool. Often they become geared towards certain audiences, like families with kids or whatnot, which is why over the years we've visited multiple of these corporate museums looking for a fun experience. Which leads me back to Easton, Pennsylvania.
Welcome to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
So we were road tripping up through Pennsylvania, so we intentionally planned to stop as it seems like a perfect chance to let Ian exercise and play to break up the long car ride. The building is split up into 4 floors, and the first floor is where you buy your tickets and where their massive store is located, just in case you wanted to be branded Crayola from your head to your toe. The second floor is where we spent most of our time, as that was really the only floor friendly for 2-year-olds. Oh, I drew this for you.
Oh, thanks.
I could tell I'm out of shape because my thumb cramped.
That quickly?
Yeah? I'm out of shape, Dayton. I don't color enough in my life, you know?
The top 2 floors had some really cool crafts and experiences, including making Crayola molds out of melted crayons and a massive play area, but really not things toddlers are up to developmentally. I should add, there was a lot of people there, which has been our experience at almost all of the corporate museums that we've visited over the years. This says to me that these corporate museums are still widely accepted culturally and at least generally agreed with, though I'm kind of suspicious of how long this marketing strategy is going to last. And here's why. Audience burnout. This is something that I've experienced more and more post-pandemic, and stick with me on this one because it may seem a bit off topic to bring up social media, but the link here between social media and the corporate museums is the marketing strategy. Sometimes it feels like everyone is trying to be an influencer. Instead of conversations, relationships, and friendships, we have audience members and followers. I think this has something to do with how massive social media has become and the fact that everybody wants a piece of the pie. It's virtually impossible to be paid by social media unless you have an authentic audience. This feels a little weird to say in a YouTube video, but here's the thing. I'm not only a content creator, I'm also a huge consumer too, and I'm a believer of social media and I'm a believer of community. I've made some amazing friends through social media, and I love how social media is becoming a place full of independent journalists, which I would love to become someday, game shows, education on so many topics, and so much more. What I don't love is how normalized it has become for people to be influencers instead of friends, using a platform to try to convert me instead of connect with me. Most people who are trying to influence don't even think their life experience is like more important or more knowledgeable. But if you are wanting to make a social media into a side hustle, almost everyone teaching you how to do so is going to tell you to first, one, pick a niche, and secondly, become an expert or an authority of that one specific niche. The longer I've been on social media, the more strongly I disagree with that advice. And it has a lot to do with the same reason why I find corporate museums cringy. It's a bad marketing strategy. The marketing goal has not changed. The goal is always to be authentic because everyone is attracted to authenticity. It's the strategy of how to be authentic that feels like it's shifting to me. At one point in time, becoming an influencer or building a massive corporate museum worked culturally as a way to communicate authenticity with the public. But if there's anybody else out there like me that is experiencing audience burnout, then those strategies have their days numbered. So just as my own case study, when I walked into the Crayola experience, I was immediately turned off because they had this massive store where they were asking you to spend more money in addition to the tickets. Then we got up to the floors and we realized a lot of the activities required even more money to participate.
Something to note is a lot of things cost extra money to do, and I noticed when I signed up you could pay for extra tokens, and now I understand why. They'd use tokens or real money on a lot of activities.
The activities were fun and fine, but everywhere I looked felt like another ad trying to convince me to become a follower, fan, or part of their audience. They even had Instagram photo op spots in hopes that everyone would take their picture there and become an unpaid influencer for their brand. At this point in history, it feels a lot more authentic to me to give money instead of taking, to support customers instead of asking for follows or likes, to care less about algorithm and care more about content, conversations, and relationships. I could give so many examples of businesses who function with this way of thinking as their model, and it works. Maybe at this point in history, it would help our businesses more if we created a massive park for the city that we're located in, with children's book reading clubs, educational experiences, community gardens, and free outdoor play areas. Title your park after your brand, and people will learn equally as much about your brand, and they'll be super impressed with how your brand is trying to help the community and will want to support you. Or on a smaller scale, instead of trying to influence, maybe it's time to connect with friends again. The best way to make friends is to be yourself, love what you're building, and to share it with people walking a similar path. Authenticity. Marketing strategies change frequently, and as a person who went through the isolating COVID years only to come out and feel more like an audience member than a friend, I feel like it's time to change the marketing strategy again.
And it was fun, but I think we're ready to drive a little bit and go to our next destination.
Okay. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I wanted to put it in video format, but now that I'm doing so, it feels a little weird putting it on YouTube because it seems a little bit counterproductive, and I don't think it is counterproductive, but it feels it. Like, for instance, am I at this point in the video going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe? Probably shouldn't. But actually, I will ask you to comment because I really like when people comment and I can chat with you. And also, for people who disagree with my video, a really good way to comment disagreement comments or posts is to ask a question. Curiosity opens doors. Blame and accusations close them. So just a weird little tidbit that's going to help you with connecting and making friends versus making enemies. There is definitely nothing wrong with making money off of hard work or growing your business. So I never want to give that impression because, hey, we're all trying to do that. But I will say it's hard to figure out how to do so while still finding ways to give back. And I'd love any suggestions if you have any. I think one way that our little family really wants to give back is through volunteer trips. We love travel, we love volunteer work, and that's something that eventually we want to do. We do have a 2-year-old, so that's off the table for at the moment. But I will say that just because it's off the table doesn't mean I shouldn't be looking to find another way to give. So yeah, any advice or suggestions, I'd be willing to talk about it. I actually am going to be working on a project that I'm making a video for a company. So I might be MIA for a few weeks if I'm working on that video. I might not be. It depends on timing and filming. But if I'm missing, that's why our next video is going to be in our next location on the road trip, which at the moment I can't remember. But who cares? I will see you then next time. Bye.